So my first memory of you actually is being at Carnival and seeing this full out like Florida. We knew it as used to call it All Star.
Really?
I don't even know what that. Yeah, like all like.
Oh really?
Yeah.
No, where I'm from, it's called booty shaking.
That's so funny.
It's called booty shaking, and then the more commercialized way to refer to it is called riding out. So all of that type of style and that type of dancing originated from Miami, Florida. Uncle Luke, Uncle Al. The 69 Boys. The list goes on, and that's where it kind of originated from, and that's where I got my training from. That was like, I didn't have a studio to go to, so it's like you heard that on the streets. You take your boombox to the porch, and then you started dancing. So that's where most of my culture and dance training came from.
That's so dope. So within that, are there any like specific dance styles? You kind of just broke it down, but any other styles or movements that you can point to that influenced you?
I early on in my childhood, I did see a little bit of Ailey, just because of my mentor at the time was a dancer, and he followed Ailey a lot. And I started training at the African Heritage Cultural Arts Center in Miami, Florida, and they were very heavily culturally based on African Americans and their history, and modern, contemporary, lyrical, and that was where I got my first taste of technical dance, and then fell in love ever since then. Yeah.
So dope. Mm-hmm. So the other thing I remember about the performances, when you would see Phil Wright, that's how it would be like 30 people on the stage, and they'd have like pool party stuff. And like you couldn't forget it, and you did multiple carnivals, and then it was like Phil Wright, and I'm like, Phil Wright, because it's his branding and marketing, because I knew who you were, because you were like, you're gonna know who I am.
Yeah. I mean, I think at that point in time, I was just so eager for everyone to know who I was. At least, I didn't care about their opinions about me. I didn't care whether or not they liked my choreography or the way I danced. I just wanted them to know, okay, that's that kid Phil Wright, or that's him, that's his material, whatnot. So I talked to Carrie and Paulette at the time, and I was like, do you guys use can I put visuals on the background? He was like, yeah, absolutely. We throw like little circles and shapes back there. I said, no, I want it to be my name. I want it to be my name. And then I'm like, okay, sure, just send it over and then we'll put it up. And every carnival, I made sure my name was up there, just so I can get people to just know who I was, because it's kind of hard moving all the way over from Miami to LA, and just trying to make your presence known. It's just so many of us over here, so many artists trying to make an impact and a thumbprint in the world, and that was one of my ways to kind of just get it out there. That's it.
It worked.
For you.
I know. I knew who you were, and I was like but then when I would see like you post or something, I'd be like, immediately I knew exactly like who you were, what your brand was. Did you have a background in branding and marketing, or where did you get that hustle from?
My back against the wall. You get creative when you're broke.
Some people don't.
Oh, really? Man, yeah. I mean, you know what? For me, at least, I got very creative. Actually, Fly Styles was one of the first ones that told me about that. He's like, you get very creative when you're broke. Yeah. And he's one of the guys that I look up to, very much so. And when I got out here, I just tried to find so many different ways to try to market myself, and not only what he said to me, but when I got here, I started working at LA Fitness, and I was a salesman.
So actually, I want to backtrack a little bit, because this is the question I had in my head. Really, was like, what was your experience leading up to you moving all the way out here, and what was it like those first months, that first year that you were here? Because you're getting into it, and I'm so interested in that.
No, it was exciting but terrible, terrifying too, just because I wasn't alone. I had my girlfriend with me, and we were, literally bunking everywhere. Not having a place to stay. We shipped her car out here. She was the only one that had a car, and we put all of our belongings in the car, and we just like. She had a cousin that lived in El Monte. We stayed over there in El Monte. We stayed with her aunt, and she was, thank God I had her at the time, because if not, we would have been sleeping on the streets, because her family kind of looked out for us. So shout out to her family. Like, her family really looked out and let us stay. I think we stayed in El Monte, which is about an hour away from like the dance, North Hollywood. El Monte for like a year, I think. Damn. We went in El Monte for a year, and then I would drive all the way to Debbie Reynolds just to take Jason Wright's class. I would sit in traffic for an hour and a half just to come and take Jason Wright's class at 5 and ship all the way back to El Monte, and that would be my piece of training that I would take with me, But it was very, very, very testing, very hard. And when my back was against the wall, I just said, man, you know what? It wasn't about a dance class at that moment. It was about living and just surviving. Mm-hmm. So I got a job at LA Fitness. And
it seems like you loved it.
It was, but I learned a lot of different things from LA Fitness, like marketing and branding yourself. And, you're doing great, but you can do better, you know what I mean? Like, it's always like you can always do better, and the numbers aren't never good enough. And I just took those elements and I applied it to myself. I always tried to push harder, and those are one of the key elements that helped me, get my brand off the, ground, if you will.
How did you get all those dancers for Carnival? I'm like shy to ask one person to do anything.
I was fearless with being social with everyone. I didn't have any regard on anyone's opinions about, okay, well, why is he so like in my face? Why is he just this and that? I would gamble my chips, and I would just, put myself out there as much as possible, and just ask anyone who was available, especially if they were a dancer. Because I feel like anyone that's walking this earth has a good spirit, genuinely, period, and if that person ends up doing malice or bad things, there's a cause to that, and I don't let my fear for, not interacting with them get in the way of what the long-term goal is. So basically, if I wanted the Carnival piece and I was in dance class, hey, and if I thought you were done, hey, my name is Phil, can we, and that's how I would exchange. And every time that I come in contact with someone, I would throw my pitch out there, or whatever the case may be. I made it very, very known, and I was very social, and I'm still very social.
That's so dope. Were you always like that, being social and not afraid to ask?
Yeah, I think my father was very like outgoing and outlandish. I didn't really grow up with him, but those are the stories that were told to me. Like, man, you just like your father, loud, obnoxious, just funny, just over the top, dramatic, but I am who I am. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, from that point of view, is there anything, like a piece of advice that you would have for someone who's the opposite? Because we all have to make asks to...
It's hard to give advice to someone who's like that, because I don't know what it feels like to be in that situation.
Yeah, I knew it was a faulty question, but I had to ask it.
I don't know, because for me it comes naturally, I would say.
Yeah.
I don't know what an introvert feels like, I don't know what they feel. I can always encourage, I can always bring light to that, but I really don't have the cure or the recipe to kind of like, hey, these are the steps that you need to take to become more outgoing, I really don't. That's kind of a hard question. That's a hard one.
No, it's a tough one, because I hopscotch between the two, and I'm. I don't even know. I don't know if I'm an extrovert that thinks I'm introverted.
But you know what? It's okay because there are times where I can pick up and go to a movie by myself and just be, or I can just go in a room by myself and just like be on my computer doing work and not want to be bothered. So I think there is a balance. I don't think anyone's completely an introvert or an extrovert. How do you say it?
Introvert, extrovert.
Extrovert, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's completely one or the other. I think we possess one more than the other.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of hard to answer that because I'm just.
I know.
I'm so
If it could be like put in a bottle.
Yeah.
And just given to people.
Right.
But I guess what we have to work on is sometimes, it's important for the journey. What's something that you've had to work on or that you feel like?
For me, I think. Adjusting to the atmosphere and not being so, I love to be me and I don't want to change that ever in life, but there's a time and place for everything, I think, and throughout the years of being here and holding myself at a professional standard, there are times where I have to kind of monitor that, and I almost like do how do you say it, like reflective imaging, like if you're sitting here, I kind of start to see here.
I know exactly. It's I'm blanking on the word mirroring. It's actually mirroring.
Yeah. So I've been doing that a lot more. Yeah, and I've come to find out like people are more acceptive when I end up doing that. Like if you come in a room and you start speaking very soft and whatever, I'll come in, hey, how you doing? My name is Phil. Nice to meet you. But if you're like loud and hey, what's going on? I'm like, hey, what's going on, partner? Start doing the shimmy out of nowhere.
I can feel myself sometimes. My energy, like I have my quiet moments, but I can feel myself constantly like I'm at a different volume than everyone and I don't want to change. Sometimes it happens in class when the teacher's like, how's everyone doing? I'm like, I'm great, and everyone else is like this, and I'm trying to interact with the person next to me and they're like.
But are you an introvert? Or are you an
extrovert? I'm an ambivert. I think.
What is that?
Ambivert is you're both.
Okay.
So extrovert means you get energy from being around people. Introvert, you recharge being alone.
Okay.
And I find that I really recharge being alone, but I find that I need to be around people. And that's something I've even like found at this point in my life, doing so many things and like part of the hustle.
Yeah.
It gets so solitary and I don't realize how much it impacts me.
Yeah. Same with me. I try to find the balance. It's kind of tough, but we all definitely need that recharge.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But like my brother, I know I'm gonna go on a tangent.
No, do it. Let's do it. Yeah, for sure. Do it. It's your show.
My brother and his wife, they like at the end of a long day, if there's something to go and do and see people, they don't have a second thought. They go and do it. And I'm the opposite. And I think that maybe is a clear signal of. Like sometimes I feel like I need to let off steam, but if I'm tired and I think if I'm going to a party, a celebration, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to.
Oh, okay.
And they're not like that at all.
Oh, well. No, I mean, I think the older I get, the less I want to go and party and exchange.
That happens.
Yeah, man. Sometimes you get drained.
Yeah.
I
think it's also. Like you finally sink your teeth into stuff. So before I think that I had made a certain amount of output but not as much coming back and I'd have to keep on restarting myself, and now it's like you have things that are going that you need to put in energy to maintain, so you can't skip out.
Right. Totally agree.
So what was your timeline like? You probably get this a lot between like moving to LA and being like, hi, I'm Phil, and starting to get tons of social media views and getting dance work and all that good stuff.
I don't know. My timeline was what? I moved over here 2013, I think. Yeah, 13. And at the time, I had about 500 subscribers on YouTube. And I had been posting on YouTube very frequently, even back in Miami. And I started, doing a couple things here and there. And one of my friends was like, yo, just don't give up. Just keep going. And don't worry. And, you get frustrated when you work at something and it's not growing or anything like that. Um, so I ended up continuing to post and make it more, you know, consistent.
How often? What was consistent for you?
Yikes. For YouTube, I would post literally every week. I would say twice a week. And strictly dance videos. And, you know, it's crazy because I moved to LA to be a professional dancer. I didn't put any emphasis on growing my social media platforms. I actually wanted to move to LA to be a professional dancer, be on tour forever, and become this iconic choreographer. And, you know, I wanted so many different things, but, you know, the road started to split for me, and I started to encounter things that, you know, I started to receive what people were telling me. Hey man, I enjoyed this about you, you know. And sometimes what we want isn't, you know, the main thing that we need to do for our community. And ultimately, honestly, I'm the most happy in my element now. Now that I'm kind of settled into what I'm doing, I'm the absolute most happy. I wouldn't change anything for the world. Yeah.
That's so cool. What do you want to tell people, or what do you recommend when they're like, my social media is not growing and I've been doing this for 6 months or 3, or even me, I'm like, I gave up on my YouTube 2 years ago. Check out my YouTube.
Check out that YouTube.
You're going to see nice videos from 2015 to 16. And I'm like, is there even a point? I don't you know what I mean? My peers are already blown up.
Yeah. What I think the biggest mistake what people make is, you know, let's just say you have 500 people following you on Instagram, and you're discouraged that it's not moving or whatnot. What happens is people surpass that 500 and have a bigger number in their brains where they move so far past that they don't tend to the 500 that they had. You know, and I'm a big advocate for sticking to the ground and making sure that my viewers get all the content that, you know, I produce. And what I mean is, it's just, don't get discouraged because of a certain number that you take those same 500 people and put them in this room. Like, that's a lot of people, you know, a lot of people, 500 people, and put them outside in a line. Like, that's a lot of people. And if you can tend to those people, even 10 people, 12 people, that's a lot of people. Those are people that you can impact in so many different ways if you really give 110% to those 10 people. But if you're only giving 50% because of a higher number that you want to achieve, then those 10 people won't grow, you know, because it won't impact them as much as it would if you gave them 110%. So when you affect them 110%, those people spread that love, and that love comes back to you, and then you do the same thing over and over again. So I think the discouragement comes from numbers, and I tell my students this all the time. If you're doing like a live video or a live feed, you know how that little number comes up at the top? Cover it.
Oh, wow.
Cover it. Because what people do is they look at the number and they say, oh man, it's only 2 people in this room. Man. And then they get less motivated. But if it's like thousands of people in that room, they turn on and they move and they do certain things. So, you know, I tell them to cover that number and just talk and just have a conversation, you know, because I think the numbers are what cripples you from really shining the way you want to shine.
And I really like what you're saying about 12 people is a lot, 15. It brings me back to, like, what's your why? I understand people sometimes want just high numbers, but if I go back to my why, it's actually I want to impact people.
Bro, like, I've taught classes where it's like 300 plus students. My best classes are when I had like 7 people in my class. You know, the masses come when you genuinely love what you do, and your energy doesn't change. When your energy doesn't change, the masses will come. But they won't come if your energy consistently changes because of external things that are happening around you. You know, if I walk into this room and there's 7 people in my class, I'm like, have this low demeanor, and when usually I will be hype and going crazy and throwing up signs, hey, what up, But if I walk into that same room and just give that same type of energy that I give, I can inspire those 7 people, and that's what makes me most happy, because those people are gonna go and do the same to others and others and others and others.
That's so dope.
That's what's most important for me.
Had 3 questions collide, and so one question ate the other, and this is how my brain works. Yeah, it was Pac-Man right now. What, you have a lot of kids and teens also, in addition to adults, or it seems like that are diehard, Phil Wright.
Yeah.
I've worked with some of them.
I don't know where this is going. No, go ahead. Go.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Wait. Let's see if you're right.
I don't know.
Okay, this is where it's going.
How do you?
What do you feel connects them so strongly to your class experiences?
The kids or the teens?
Oh, it's different.
Yes,
very
different.
Tell me.
Very different. I feel like the kids, for me in class, you have to implement the fun factor in it. Number one, just because their attention span is so short, very, very short. On the opposite corner of that, with the teens, I think you being more informative is much more interesting than the fun factor, because there's a age range where you get kind of too cool for school type vibe. You get anywhere between, I want to say 12 and 15. That's a tricky teenage, just because they're trying to figure themselves out, and they're, I don't know, on the edge of being cool or fun. Am I a child? Nah, I'm an adult. You know what I mean? And I have kids. I call them chicken nuggets, and I have the ones that are growing up man, I'm not no chicken nugget. I'm such and such or whatnot. So, you find that to be tricky. So I do have 2 different approaches when it comes to teaching classes and different age ranges.
So what are some, an example of, you have a class with kids and teens, and you probably have some adults in there. How are you balancing out for all of them?
Well, I think everyone can relate to energy. Yeah. And if my energy is up to a certain standard to where it motivates them to, pull up, then that's the number one thing for me. An adult can relate to energy, kids, teens, I don't care how old you are.
Yeah.
I think energy is the number one factor, and balance between holding a classroom when there's so many different age ranges for me.
What was the question you thought I was going to ask?
Dang, I forgot. What was it? I think
when I said kids,
I think you're gonna ask. I felt like you were gonna ask, how do you deal with kids so much? Because I get asked that question a lot. A lot of people ask me why you deal with so many kids. A lot of teachers prefer not to, and I always tell them patience is a virtue. A lot of people don't like to deal with, and I think we get selfish sometimes in some ways, but for me, I feel like the kids are our future, and if you can teach a classroom full of kids, you can teach anybody. I feel like I think that's what's most important, but that's what I thought you were gonna ask me, because I get asked that question.
Well, now when people ask, you can just be refer to 40 minutes in on the DanceSpeak podcast. This question is closed.
Right. Real.
What's the question that you whisk? That you wish. What's the question that you wish more people would ask you?
I don't know. Food. I don't know.
What's your favorite food? I'm afraid to ask because I might get really hungry.
I have so many favorite foods. I like macaroni and cheese for some reason. I have this big love for macaroni and cheese, and I love Chinese food. Dirty Chinese food.
What does that? I like picture like Chinese food with like a heap of dirt.
No.
Like not real Chinese food.
No, like there are some like Chinese restaurants that are really like nice. They have like these like fine chinaware around you. And then there's this Chinese,
styrofoam Chinese
places? the little box with the little house on the side with the little iron around it, like that one. I want to go to that one.
Oh my god, that's so funny. What's a piece of bad advice that you've been given? I know especially in LA or coming out here, I got so much advice. Being a new dancer in town, I got a lot of advice. Mm-hmm. What's a piece of bad advice you got?
Bad advice.
Or bad advice that you hear a lot?
I think in any moment, not being you isn't being genuine to the craft that you're in. Like, I think, any moment that you change who you are genuinely, and this isn't really an advice or a piece of advice that anyone has given to me, but it's more so of situations that we come across. Anytime where you feel like you're not being 100% you should remove yourself from a situation. It's okay to adjust. It's okay to, adjust your speaking level but adjusting who you are, that's a no-go. I don't think that is acceptable for the company that you're around, and more importantly for you. Because at the end of the day, you got to go home and be satisfied with who you are, and ultimately, if you're changing your personality and your natural environment for a quote unquote opportunity, that's a little off-putting, I would say. Yeah.
Do you ever feel like there was a point where you felt compromised and it was hard to discern whether to adjust?
Absolutely.
Do you mind giving an example? You can leave out names.
Yeah, no. Plenty of times. There's a time where I first moved to LA, and I had to, make some money, and I got hired to do a job at a gay club. And look, nothing against the gay community. I didn't feel comfortable with it, but once again, my back was against the wall, and I can say what I've learned from that is, because during that moment I was very uncomfortable, very, very uncomfortable. But looking back on it now that I'm older, and much more mature, I can look back and say, that wasn't a bad idea, and I had to do what I had to do, and I had to compromise my feelings for that present moment, but never in a time where I was judging anyone around me. I just felt uncomfortable in that moment, and you can't control other people and what they do. So there were certain times where, other guys would kind of like try to, hey, how you doing? And I would be nice and, whatever, but there are other times where other guys were a little bit more persistent, and, those are the situations that kind of put me in a very, very uncomfortable environment. And those are the times where I was tested the most, because I still had to hold myself at a professional standard, and regardless of what I thought about the situation, I had to keep myself in a sane, mind state to be like, what, I'm here for a job, let me just do it and go home. There's been times where I've been performing, and my gay friends will be around, and they would kind of be protectors. They were like, no, get away, you know what I mean? Get back, A couple of my friends, I won't name them, but those friends are very special to me, and they know who they are, but, they would be very protective of me because they knew how I felt, and they knew that I was in that situation to make sure I had dinner the next day.
Oh, wow.
So, as I kept doing those situations and putting myself in that situation, my friends would look out for me. So, yeah.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And I believe that a lot of the time the tougher times, they really inform the better times, and we can learn from them. So not to be negative, but I like to dig into this area. What do you feel like you were super accepted here, or were you told no a lot? Like, what are some examples maybe of no's that you heard, or things that maybe could have felt like failure moments out here?
Man, I have a lot of failure moments, and a lot of the success that I've achieved in the few years that I've been here doesn't amount to the amount of no's that I've gotten.
Can you give some examples? Those are so valuable.
Examples would be, okay, there was a time when Instagram was 15 seconds, and I was just snatching people like off of the street, and teachers and people that I knew to do it. And I won't name names, but I got a lot of yeses, but a lot of, like, I would type over Facebook, like, hey, I have this real cool concept, it's only 15 seconds, and a lot of teachers / choreographers either wouldn't get back to me, or they would just say flat out no.
Were you asking them, like, to dance? Or?
To dance in my, like, 15-second video. Now, it's a stretch because they don't know who I am, you know, and I take my hat off to the people who did give me a shot, and that's why those people mean so much to me. But not that I have anything against the people who told me no, but those are, that's all I had. Those no's were very, very harsh for me, because it was like, man, what am I gonna do? Like, I need people in my video. I need relevant material. I need good material, you know. And that was one case. The other case, there was a time where when I moved to LA, my first audition was Clear Talent. Audition for Clear Talent, and Clear booked me right away. And I said, yes, I'm about to conquer the world. It's over. It's over, y'all. It's over. Galit, for the next 2 years, I did not book a job.
That's so real, though.
It's so real.
Except for those, like, that one person that's like, they just wanted me and I just can't stop whatever. Do you know what I'm talking about? Besides those few people who stick out.
Right.
It's like, it doesn't happen.
So many no's. So many, I would make it to the, like, very end. And it got to the point where I would get to the audition and be like, you know what, just cut me. Just cut. Because so I can go home and start looking for the next audition. You know, I don't want to be here for 3 rounds. Yeah. Cut me. And then I started to develop like this very, like, sour attitude. I was angry. I was so angry at the world. I was so angry about and then, you know, it's hard too, is because you have friends and you're happy for your friends.
Yeah.
But I always feel like a little pinch, like what am I doing? You know, am I doing the right things, or who should I be training with, or whatnot? And, you know, it's tough, you know, and that I became very sour within that 2-year time span, probably even more than that. Without booking a job, and then I booked my first job with Othan. Shout out to Othan. Shout out to Othan. Othan booked me on my first job with Revolt TV, Dancing Behind the Dream.
Dope.
And that was from there, you know, after that gig, I was on cloud 9, and then right after that gig, back to the nose. You know, back to the nose. And, you know.
Do you think... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Do you think it was like a matter of you needed more training, you need to be seen more, or was there something that had to shift within you?
I definitely needed more training. I felt like my ambitions were ahead of my skill level. I think if I had to rewind, you know, the times, which I wouldn't want to, because I'm very, very satisfied. You know, I love what I'm doing now. But if I was to go back then, I would temper my ambitions on, I would refocus my ambitions to training more. And I wish I had moved out here a little bit earlier.
How old, if you don't mind?
I was 26. 26. And if I had moved out a little bit earlier, I probably would have had more support so where I wouldn't have to worry about living
Yeah.
at the present time. Because when you're worried about living and catching the next meal, you're not worried about training. You're worried about, okay, can I sub a class so I can, make some money, And the only reason why I feel like it worked for me is because I love teaching.
Mm-hmm.
I love teaching. I love teaching kids. I love inspiring people. I think that's the reason why it worked. But I think some people resort to teaching just to get a check, and then after a while it starts to show on their skin that you're just here for a check. You don't really, So
or to get free classes.
Exactly, or just, but it is what it is. But that's my experience.
What's a major yes that you received that shifted things for you, or made you know it wasn't all in vain?
My biggest yes was when MC Hammer.
I love MC Hammer. You're gonna say that? I love MC Hammer. Oh my god.
When MC Hammer hired me to be his choreographer for his 25th anniversary at the Staples Center, that was something that was unreal for me because I grew up watching him in my living room, dancing to all of his songs and whatnot. And to fast forward to time where he's actually hired me to be the choreographer for something that he's doing, and it's an anniversary, it's still him, that was sort of like the, wow, okay, I can actually do this, or wow, everything I've been doing is, coming into fruition. Like everything is worth it now. And, it's hard because sometimes we need that stamp, just to say, you know what, Galit, you're doing the right thing. Because we get in our heads all the time. For me, at least.
Oh, yeah.
I get in my head all the time. I'm like, man, am I supposed to be here?
I would never think that.
Yeah, am I supposed to be here? What am I supposed to be doing? And the only reason why you say that is that you would never think that is because of what social media propels.
Yeah.
And what I produce on social media. But man, there's so many times where before the social media blow up, I would go home and cry myself to sleep. Wow. Or I would, cry myself on Ashley's shoulder and bro, I don't want to be here. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know if this is gonna work. And consistently she always told me it would be all right, and everything would be okay. And she was very nurturing in that aspect. But man, there's been plenty of times where I wanted to give up.
Wow. Numerous
amount of times. So that was the biggest yes right there, MC Hammer, and that was very recent. I don't know how, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, that he hired me, and we're actually we're actually going on tour. We're actually having auditions next week. So
whoa,
yeah. So doing big things.
So dope.
Yeah.
I almost want to crash that audition. I should say literally just because I love that full outness so much, and that's how I remember. That's a big piece of my training was that, and then I the immediate critique was you can't have everything be that full out and blah blah blah. But I feel that's
that's where you get the most adrenaline rush.
Yeah, I think that it's art, and there's so many different ways to express yourself. So I believe there's this place for smooth, there's a place for full out. Right. That's just some of us exist at a louder volume. That's MC Hammer.
And what's crazy is that even looking back at all of my material, you can see that it was sort of embedded in my DNA. Not to sound so
no, but the things I had a question in my head. What were the things that you could see that road to MC Hammer?
The things I'm definitely my background on being as full out as I can. Even looking back on the carnival tapes and all of the stuff, we the music would start and everyone would just run on and go crazy, go full out. Yeah. And that's what we do at Hammer. Hammer is all right, we're ready, and we had a show in Dallas, and we literally did just that. And after the show, I was like, man, I've been doing this all of my life,
It's perfect.
So purpose.
Yeah.
Purpose, serve your purpose 100%. Don't change who you are, because things that serve you will eventually serve you. It's just a matter of time for it to come out. So
I feel like when you work with great people, there's things you can learn, whether it's something they shared with you or something you observed about them. What are a couple of things from MC Hammer? Because he's
legendary.
Yeah. I was like, well, what is that word? Yeah. What are a couple of things?
You know, the genuine love for entertaining. He is the ultimate, you know, for who I've experienced in my past lifetime. You know, like, it's hard to see an icon like that get nervous before a show.
Yeah.
And like, while we're in the tunnel, we did this show at FSU, at the stadium, and everyone's so jumping up, and we're hype, and everyone's jumping, and Hammer's like in the front, he's just like kind of shaking his hands, and go like this, like breaking his neck, just go like this, and like you see his buddies come and rub him on his shoulders, and then everyone's and I kind of got a peep of it, and I'm like, yo, he's still human. He's still human. You know, he's still a human being, you know, and as far and with as many accomplishments as he's achieved, he still has that love for entertaining a crowd and wants to put out the best that he wants, you know. And I think if you're not, to see an icon like that get nervous before a show, that lets me know that if you ever lose that type of, you know, that rush, that tiger, then you probably fell off the wagon. You fell out of love of what you do. And seeing that, him still kind of shaking his hands and him start kind of being timid before a show, just entails that he still loves what he does. He still has a passion for what he does. And that's one of the things that I've learned, is that if I ever get nervous before a show, or very like timid, which I still do, you know, that means that I'm in the right place, in the right setting, because, you know, I want things to be right and I love what I do. So
that's so beautiful. By the way, are you getting like tired or anything?
No,
okay, I have so many questions populating.
Let's rock it.
Populating in my head is the last thing I said before I went blank. Nah, but you spoke about needing to like level up before you really started booking.
Yeah. So
what did you do to get there?
Yeah, I used my resources. I used my resources. I had to, you know, social media was a big thing, and what was crazy is that I knew people, and I had respect for them, and that's where the whole aspect of me just being outgoing kind of helped. It kind of helped because I think the reason why people were so willing to work with me is because of my energy, not because of I had this magnificent choreography that they wanted to do. It was just because I feel like Phil's a cool dude, you know. I'm a rock with him, you know, and I think that was one of the things that helped me level up, is receiving those stamps from those people who didn't have to. They didn't have to give me a shot. They didn't have to, like, you know.
As a dancer or choreographer, teacher?
More for the teachers than anything, because that's where I was going.
Okay.
You know, there are a lot of choreographers that I still haven't worked with yet, but the teachers were so tangible because they were in my element of work and career, because I've been teaching for a while. And sometimes I take classes just to learn from the teacher, not the actual dance choreography. I learn different strategies on how they hold the class.
Yeah.
So I don't even sometimes I care about killing the choreography, but I care more so about how are they relaying their message to the students, and how the students being receptive to the messages that they get. So I'll make mental notes. I don't know if that'll work with me. I don't know. Not stealing,
right.
But just...
It's learning.
Yeah, learning. Absolutely learning.
I like doing the same. So for me, like, dance class has become the funnest. like I had fun and then I stopped having fun at a point, and now it's like I love the dance class part of it, just like go live your life, but then also absorbing things from the teacher, being like, not in a judgmental way, whatever, and then creatively. The other place that I come from, and this is a bias, it's an opinion that I hold. I come from a theatrical background before dancing, and I remember.
I can tell so much.
Oh, really?
I can tell so much, bro. I can tell so much. Seriously. Seriously. No, you shine.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot.
It does.
Thank you. Sometimes the theater people are so crazy, but thank you. No, because I'll be, I'm around so many actors and stuff, and they have no idea, and I want to be deep down inside, I'm a thespian, just like you. But one thing in acting class, I remember one of the teachers I respected the most, he had this whole thing about censorship, and we were in high school, and so the stakes are even higher for what he can allow us to say. And he was like, if we don't have freedom of speech, then what do we have? And I see speech and opinions and views and discussions as art. And so just how I feel I don't truly believe in bad dance.
Right. Right.
But a painting is a painting, and you can discuss it. Same thing with our voices and our opinions and our views and discussions.
And I think I had a discussion with one of my friends yesterday, and I was looking at a media post, and I was just browsing through Instagram, and I was just watching a regular dance video, and it just a light bulb just went off, and it was yo, dancing is just dance, obviously technique, okay. You have technique, rules and regulations, and the way you're supposed to do it. But show me where hip hop dance for dummies or something like that. Show me the book where, it outlines a correct way to, express yourself. And I feel like dance has become so broad and broadcasted on a major scale to where anyone can do it. I feel like I don't know if I should say it like this, but I don't know. I don't feel like there's a right or wrong way on how you can express yourself. You know what I mean? You can have opinions and liking to certain ways people express themselves, and dislikes, that's fine as well. But I feel like there's no rule book, is what I'm ultimately trying to say. Obviously, with the technicalities of how to do a plie, arabesque, and stuff, things of that nature, I get that. But where I'm talking about more in depth on expressing yourself as an artist, show me the rule book. Show me where it tells you, no, you can't go to the left on that lyric. You have to go to the right on that lyric, or you can't go that low, or you have to go lower. I feel us as a society and a dance community has become so critical. Yes. Very critical and intense. And some people would say especially the old heads, old heads, quote unquote old heads, would say, well, that's why we're losing the standards because of how loose everything has become. But my counteract to that would be, would you rather it be tense to where the community is very small and very compact, and you find people in stress most of the time? Or would you want it to be a global phenomenon where everyone can enjoy themselves and everyone can participate, and at the end of the day be happy? So definitely there's a happy medium for it all. And I think that's where we're trying to find. We haven't gotten there yet, because it's crazy, man. Even the dance community is segregated. Between social media and you have your professional dancers. And we all love each other. We have all respect for each other, but you can definitely see the line.
Oh no, like on DanceSpeak, I like had both views and
yeah, and like it's very noticeable, you know, and hopefully one day it can mesh together, you know. But yeah, we're still trying to find a happy medium to where everyone, and I feel like everyone respects everyone, you know. But I feel like it's definitely there. That line is definitely there.
Yeah, and I think that when I edit, I'm like, I put so many disclaimers. Like, I just could maybe afford to chop half of them. But I'm playing it safe. I feel like it's that a lot of people don't feel like they're respected, or like the craft or foundation isn't respected, and that's where it's like
and that ultimately feeds the want or ambition to want to do better and want to fight, because I need my respect, I need this and I need that, you know. And there's certain levels of professionalism where you get to where you don't care anymore, you know, and you're a free soul. And to be quite honest, that's where I want to be. I want to be a free soul. I should not care about what and who said that, what and the other, and who thinks about this piece of choreography that I put out. You know, it's just so old.
Yeah.
It's so old, played out.
And
you know?
I think dance is also bigger than that. It's something we've had for all of civilization, pre-civilization has dance, so I think it's bigger than the checks and balances. But I feel like there's a space for everyone, and just hopefully like the roots don't get lost.
Yeah.
But there's an unlimited amount of roots, because that generation maybe had another generation before them that was upset about them. I'm not sure. And
for what my response to that is, look, you know, back in the day, when Run DMC were doing their thing, there were older heads saying, "Man, that's trash music."
Yep.
You know, now we got the Migos. You know, people old heads like, "Man, that's trash music." When we get older, the Chicos is gonna be out. We're gonna be like, "That's trash music." You know, it's just, I think it's all relative to our society and what we grew up on. For me, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will be the best thing on earth. For me, there will be no cartoon better than or anything. Besides Power Rangers. Power Rangers is pretty cool too.
Oh my god, I remember playing Power Rangers and it was so serious which one you had to be, and I think
I was the Black Ranger.
I never recovered from. I wanted it to be the pink one, but sometimes it had to be the yellow one. And I wanted to be the pink Power Ranger. Hashtag 6 years old. Hashtag card.
For real.
What's your creative process like for class?
Sometimes it gets heavy because you get swamped with classes that you have to teach. I'm a big, I go for content, big time. I continuously test myself and challenge myself with new material periodically, more regularly than, you know, the average teacher. I know, not saying there's nothing wrong with it, but I have a lot of teachers that continuously teach the same routine.
Are you talking about like 3 times or more than 3 times?
More than 3 times.
In the same class?
Yeah. You know, I've known teachers, not in the same classroom setting, but throughout their teaching career or whatever. Yeah. And for me, I feel like, you know, it's important to have content, and I think the body has an limited amount of moves or feelings that it can express. So I'm always willing to push that to the mold. My strategy, if you would say, move my table out of the way. Kitchen would be there. I built like a mirror right there on the wall, right next to my my kitchen, and just go to work right there and there. Ashley be in the kitchen cooking, and I'll be sweating because the heat from the ovens, boy.
This is so precious.
Very hot. It's very hot, and you know, we live, you know, not in a mansion, so everything is very tight and compressed. And I'm in there, you know, I'm going full out. You know, I'm imagining, I'm hitting picture frames. She's telling me to chill out. You know, and you know, that's typically the format for me making up material.
Does it take a long time? Are you like quickly it comes out and it's done?
You know what? Sometimes.
Do you film and fix? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't film and fix. Like I said, I'm a big supporter of content.
So when you say that, do you mean like creating a lot of stuff?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Different things. Now the pieces may be short, or not long, relatively short, because I still want to keep the class element into effect, and I want everyone to enjoy themselves. So I try not to make them long at whatever cost, because I do get majority of the younger crowd there as well. So I try to keep it compact and nice and tight. But yeah, my process is. Wait, okay. So the day before, I taught a routine. I taught a routine on Monday. What's today?
Thursday.
I taught a routine on Monday. I taught another routine on Tuesday, and I have another routine today on Thursday.
Damn, so when did you create all this?
I created the day of, or the night prior. So Monday I had material, I taught that. The next day I had a couple of hours to myself. I created a short piece right there. And then today, after this podcast, I go back to my lonely kitchen and start creating again for tonight's class.
And how much does it, roughly how long does it take to create a piece for class?
Sometimes I've gotten to the point where I create like 8 counts at a time. That's so embarrassing.
Oh, wait, what do you mean?
8 counts at a time. I would come up with an 8 count or 2 8 counts, and I would sit down and watch Netflix.
Oh, no, I'm not. Yeah,
and then
break it up.
I would stop, and then I'd be like, oh, okay. Get back up, do a couple moves. Oh, okay. And then I would film each 8 count.
Yeah.
So I would film, make sure I remember it, and then go back and revisit, and that would be my process. And I would do that for within the next 2 hours, and I'll have a full routine at the end of the day.
That's so dope. Does it get easier over time for you, or a little bit more difficult because it's like you have so much that you've created already?
Yeah, I think it does get difficult through time, just because I'm so used to specific movement. I feel like my body is so used to moving a certain way, and I'm always trying to challenge myself, so it does get pretty difficult. And that's one of the consequences that you have to deal with when you consistently try to put out content.
How do you keep yourself inspired? Sorry to cut you off. I just could not ask.
The students, my students, the people that, because I can be having the rough day trying to create material, and then when I step foot in that classroom, the kids and the students there all put me at ease, and they all let me know, hey man, this is great. This is awesome. When meanwhile I was back at home thinking that this move was sorry, I could have done better, But when you're doing the move, you're demonstrating the move, and then you look back to the class, and the class really digging in and really trying, man, I'm overthinking it. I'm overanalyzing, So that's one of the things that keeps me inspired with my material.
I still feel bad about cutting you off a minute ago.
Okay.
I'm trying to get better at that.
That's fine. No, I was probably rambling.
It was just a burning question. So I pride myself in my teaching, but once in a blue, I have to be vulnerable if I'm asking you to be vulnerable.
Okay.
I'll teach a class, and I'll be afterwards, it didn't click. It didn't click for the students, or I feel hard on myself, the choreography didn't quite. And I'll be oh my god, what am I doing? I'm whack, everyone's great, and I suck. And I go into a dark hole, and then I need to call my mom. And it's the worst feeling. I'm I'm a fraud. She give me my money back.
I'm a fraud.
So I'm sharing that. It is really hard for me to share that. I want to cut it out. I probably won't because that wouldn't be fair.
No.
Because I don't want someone to hear it and be like, don't.
Yeah.
Because I love teaching so much. So I was wondering, have you ever had those moments? Do you ever have that once in a blue, like... Have you never had that? It's okay.
No, I've had.
You have?
I've had, yeah.
Because I feel like I'm the only one when that happens.
I'm always questioning whether or not if I'm doing anything right. And that's one of the reasons why I told you earlier that I like to go into classes to try to learn more from, people who I admire teaching classes. My biggest dilemma became where the video camera became an element in my classes. And that was my biggest test because, you hear people and you hear opinions about the video camera being in class and it losing the authenticity of the class and unfolding, I want to say mistakes. I'm not mistakes.
Yeah, I want to be able to mess up, try different things in class, and when a camera is there, I'm like, shit, it's about that. And I don't want to be seen sometimes.
And that's one of my biggest tests. And still, I'm still tested to this day, where, man, it's so hard. How can I say? It's hard because now we live in a world that is such media based, and where my achievements and my not standards but more accomplishments come from media. And it just so happens that I'm a dance teacher, and I think it's a beautiful thing, but my biggest test is when I encounter people who don't want that. And I had and still have to find a compromise, and I have to find a good happy medium to respect those people's wishes. It's developed into the point where if you go into Phil Wright's class, he's videotaping. And I'm fine with that. And I've actually accumulated students, only those students who wish to be on camera or whatnot. And that's probably the more, not downside, because I'm always happy with everything, but I just wish that wasn't an issue, because I stand fully behind that. But I can't dislike anyone for having their opinions about the video camera being in the class. So that's something that's kind of hard for me to, and I'm still battling to this day,
Like whether to do it or just the fact, you said you're committed to it, so it's just that people will react how they may react.
Yeah, and the way, I'm just trying to find ways to make everyone at ease in the classroom, which I think I've done. I've done okay. With it, I think I've done okay with finding that happy medium for a while now. But I don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable. One of the worst things of all for me is having someone in class and then walking out in the middle. And not because of an emergency, but just because they weren't satisfied with the class. That is the most disheartening thing for me as a teacher. I try not to encounter that or try not to develop. So I want to make sure that I connect. That's why you'll see me a lot walking throughout the class, not standing in the front all the time, walking, dancing with the students or whatnot. But yeah, I question myself a lot when it comes to the video camera in the class because, doing that so much can come off me being selfish, me being self-centered or whatever the case may be. But along with that, my true friends know who I am, and the people that I work with know what I stand for, and that's why when I do video and I do, pull out the camera, everyone gets an equal shot to shine. Everyone in the classroom. I don't care if you have 5,000 or 5 million followers or 2 followers. Everyone feels special, and I typically call out the people who were iffy about class.
Oh wow.
Yeah, who didn't want to, or either pressured or just because of their friend coming to take class, they ended up being in the class. And I typically but put them on a platform for them to shine. Taking that introvert and putting them in an environment where they can smile at least. Not, become like this roaring tiger, but the messages that I receive from those students that I pull out in class that were iffy those messages are the best checks that you can ever receive. For me. Just for me. And, that's what I've learned. And having the camera in class can ultimately have you resort to only calling the best students out in class because you want the best and you want your choreography to read the best and such X9 and the third. But I feel like people are more inspired by the people who are not fully capable of doing so but are trying to do so.
Yeah.
That for me is more of a bigger message than anything else, or more big of a message than that person doing your choreography to perfection. So that's the bigger picture for me.
Thank you for caring. And I took your class 2 weeks ago. It was a lot of fun. It was a smaller class, and that's why I was like, I gotta jump in. It was so much fun. We were jumping, and it was really an experience.
We were jumping, doing
you
jumping
had us
jacks.
doing like a pike.
Yeah.
It's like a pike to I'm glad I was warm. It was so much fun.
Yeah, my choreography is very athletic, so.
Yeah, and one of the girls in the class, I've directed a team. She's not she's a fart kid, and I was like, hey, and she was just kind of like, and then I had to be like, Galit, don't get in your head. Teenagers, they sometimes she's just not as excited.
Right.
So what would you say, just rounding it out, because I think sometimes it's hard to look at yourself when you're in it.
Yeah. So
what would you say to me, or what would you say to yourself if you could step outside of yourself after having maybe a tough class?
Relax. People who are supposed to be around you are there for a reason. I believe in purpose. I believe in cause and effect. I believe things are stationed and things are Things are no way. That is no good.
R squared, no.
No good.
Not reinventing the English language today, no.
Right, no. Things are supposed to be what they're supposed to be. I would tell myself to relax, and keep that passion within your heart and in your body, and never lose it. I think that's most important.
Do you have any schedules, rituals, things that you get done no matter what? Schedules and rituals.
It's it's hard. I try to stay in the gym as much as I can. Now I've developed a routine where I have to wake up at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, get to the gym, come home, eat breakfast, go to sleep, take a nap. Okay, a nap for
a nap.
Yeah, people will call this a sleep, but I call it a nap. Oh, okay. So, gym 7:30 to 8:30. Come home, eat. I'm done usually by 9:30. I'm back in bed for about until 12, and then my day starts.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, why don't you just wake up at 10?
And the reason why I can't do that is because my body clock doesn't allow it to. I end up waking up at 8 in the morning now. I don't know if that comes with getting older or whatever. But there was a point in time in my life where I wouldn't get up until 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if that was because I was younger or whatever.
I have an answer.
Oh,
because I just read a book about sleep.
Really?
The circadian rhythm, seriously, of teenagers. So our natural sleep cycles as teenagers, I want to share this with the world. It's off by a few hours roughly than adults.
Uh-huh.
And the reason, the hypothesis is that in evolution, teenagers, that's when you're forming your adult identity. Because think about it, like when it's life or death, you're in the wilderness because we're just civilized for the last, for a short time relative to how long humans have been around. So teenagers are learning how to be adults, so they need like a half-controlled environment where they can, mess up. So teenagers, they would be awake when everyone was asleep because kids go to sleep early and adults go to sleep at a medium time, let's say. Teenagers are forming bonds, they're forming their social circles, and they have their alone time late at night, but then they have to sleep in. So yeah, the circadian rhythm for teenagers is different. Circadian rhythm, that's our natural sleep cycle. And I get so excited talking about this stuff. It syncs up with nature, with where you're at. So also when you're jet lagged, it takes about a day for every hour that your sleep is off.
Wow, how do you know this stuff?
There's this book called Why We Sleep, and I feel like everyone needs to read it because there's such a culture around like, I'll sleep when I'm dead, no days off, no sleep.
Right.
And then so it's like a culture around that, and then there's stuff that you hear like it's bad if you don't sleep, but kind of.
Yeah. And
this book has just tons of studies and how it impacts different things. So it impacts creativity because of what happens during our REM cycles, immunity, everything, the way you age, Alzheimer's later on.
So sleep is important.
Mood. It's so injury prevention, and so few people are actually truly okay with like less than 7 or 8 hours of sleep. It's less than 0.01%, I think.
Oh, really?
So, because I know tons of people that are like, nah, I'm good, but it's no. And it also affects your mood and decision making.
Yeah, it's damaging and stuff.
So.
I mean, I can't sleep for more than 6 hours.
But then you get
But that's why I get my nap in.
So you're getting a total of 9.
Yeah, probably.
Something
like that, yeah.
It's so important. So, like, dancers, get all of your sleeps.
Yes.
And other humans as well. I went on a tangent, but I will go on that tangent whenever needed. I won't rest till everyone rests. Oh my god, I'm such a grandma. Wait, in college, my first year off, I'm going there. My first year off.
I'm going there.
In
college?
Yeah,
What college did you go to?
I went to, for a year, a small liberal arts called Goucher in Maryland, and then I went to USC.
Okay.
So I was like, Goucher, I was so passionate about my sleep already, even though I'd whatever. But it would be like 10:30, had my nightgown, my earplugs, and I'd hear all this noise, and I'd open up the door, and I would cuss people out. I would cuss. I'd be like, I'll say it, you can bleep it out. Shut the fuck up! I'm trying to get some fucking sleep. This is like straight out of New York, clubs, and just like I like march around. It was intense.
That's so crazy.
It was intense. Somehow
I wish I had got the college experience. I never got that.
I feel like there's different ways that you get your education. So it's like it was a really cool finding yourself fun time. Yeah. And at the same time, like I have friends, especially entrepreneurial friends that didn't go to college, and it's so cool to see how they've constructed their own education. Yeah. And it's through things that are so fully applicable to you because you're not gonna say like, oh, let me dedicate 5 days of my life to researching something I don't care about. It's more like, all right, I need to figure out business and marketing. I need to learn about cameras. Yeah. Yeah. So, who are some of like your teachers? People who are the Phil Wrights of Phil Wright?
The Phil Wrights of Phil Wright.
Who are your teachers and influences, dance and non-dance?
Now, currently, or in the past?
Both.
Probably. Yikes. When I first moved here, Jason Wright was a big name for me. I looked up to him big time. I looked up to Fly Styles big time. there's so many different teachers that I admire, for a lot of different reasons, um, and I think me growing into who I am now, there are certain things that I've pulled from them that they've given in those classes or whatnot. Um, I would say now I'm more inspired by my company that's around me. Not physically around me, but like, now we have this thing, and I feel more motivated by my successful peers.
Yeah.
There are certain things that this person does that inspires me, and there's another, this person inspires me over here. And there's so many people that are doing so many great things, especially in LA, even not in LA, everywhere, that inspires me, and I try to keep tabs on them. I try to pick their brains, and I try to stay in touch with them. And there's just so many people, I don't know how many people. Hollywood, I love Hollywood. Will's amazing. JoJo, Aaliyah, Nicole Kirkland, Tony Czar. It's just the list goes beyond, and I'm sorry if I didn't mention anyone, but it's
hard when you're on the spot.
Yeah, it's the selection is endless, and all of those different people give so many different elements and inspire me in different ways. Like for me, I feel like Hollywood is the best promo marketer or whatnot.
Shout out to his episode. I don't know the exact number right now, but
yeah, if you had a Hollywood, I feel like he is the blueprint for marketing yourself and manifesting exactly what you want in life. Like he's the GOAT for it, I feel.
Do you have any people outside of the dance world? Because to me, like, you seem so business savvy. You're such an entrepreneur. Also, like, the Parent Jam. I remember you had a post about it. It was a while ago. Like, I think people were ripping it off or something. Yeah. You were like, hey, I got it cut. Like, this is trademarked. Yeah.
The Parent Jam came a long way. We're in big talks with a lot of different things. If you haven't already, make sure you guys go follow the Parent Jam page at TheParent Jam. JAM. What'd you say?
The videos I've seen are so precious, and there's like no, with all due respect, like there's no reason I had to, like that. It's such a. What am I saying? Sorry, please cut that out.
It's okay.
Like I don't have a stake in it, and I want to say.
Yeah.
That sounds so grimy.
No.
From the most genuine place, seeing the videos warmed my heart because the parents, oh my God, they
bring joy, right?
They bring joy, and they are driving and sacrificing and spending countless hours on their children's dance, which is so many levels of extraordinary. And to see them be able to be included in that opportunity, I think that the kids will get it even on an exponentially bigger level when they're a bit older and can look back on the experience. So I saw it and I was like, this is so brilliant and warming.
Thank you so much for that. And you come up, I came up with the idea where I was at IDA at the time, and I was teaching class, and we're in a class full of students, kids predominantly, and we'll walk outside and you'll see a slew of like parents just waiting on their phones and whatnot, people like peeking into the window and whatnot, and I was like, man, how could I incorporate them into the class and possibly bring more numbers into the class and develop a family fun class where everyone can enjoy. And one of the most rewarding things to see is seeing the students and their tendencies with the originator. You know what I mean? With where they came from. With where they came from, the offspring is so cool to see. Because if you take a student and they're like this, you'll start to see the parent do the same thing, or if you have a student that's like doing backflips, you'll see the parents just like doing waves and doing their little pop locking, and you know what I mean, like it's it's rewarding to see, and it's really, really fun. So,
how do you keep it, like, span the line where it's simple enough for the parents and engaging enough for the kids?
ultimately becomes a beginner's class.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes a beginner's class, but no one ever thinks of it that way.
Yeah.
Because they're just having loads of fun. Everyone's having a great time. No one cares about the difficult or the intensity in the class. Everyone's just, the parents more focused on the child
Yeah.
having a good time.
Aww.
And when they look at their child and their child looks back up at them and they smile, that puts them at ease
Yeah.
because now they're getting more bang for their buck. And now their hour isn't wasted. They're not sitting outside not doing anything. Not only that, they're exercising. And, you you kill two birds with one stone. And now both of them are leaving the class, smiling at each other, worked out, and now trying to find a place to eat and go to sleep, So, the Parent Jam is, if not already, going to be a global epidemic. Like, it's gonna be huge. And if it's not huge already, I see so many possibilities and so many opportunities for the Parent Jam. We have offers that are on the table that I can't disclose just yet. But major things that are happening with the Parent Jam. I do have a trademark. And we're actually in talks of licensing it. So basically, I'm putting a license on the Parent Jam where people can fly out to LA, come take a seminar from me, they get certified, they go back into their studios, and they can teach the Parent Jams in their studios. So where it's sold as a curriculum and not as just, okay, I have to fly to LA to only see Phil Wright. No, I live in Virginia. I can go and look at this app and sign up for the Parent Jam class because Larry Holmes is teaching it. But Larry Holmes flew to LA to get certified by Phil. Boom, he flies back. And then every now and then, I make up a pop-up. I pop up in their class.
Awesome.
And everyone's like, hey, And that puts a little bit more standard. I can't be at every place at one time. So, that's our process right now is selling it as a curriculum to different studios around the country. And once we get it solidified domestically in the country, then we can go global.
So dope. Do you have a business partner, or like where do you go to? How have you learned the business aspect of this? How have you learned the business aspect of like having an idea, developing it, licensing it?
Well, my partner, my assistant, my manager, Haley Walsh. Shout out to Haley Walsh. She helps me map everything out. Within that, we've come across a lot of business people that are interested in what we're doing and want to get their hands on us. So, we have meetings and, business meetings and whatnot with a lot of different people. And we've encountered some genuine people. We've encountered a lot of people who just kind of want to snoop in and see what's up or whatever. And we've kind of depict from that, and made our pickings and, this is good. I feel a good vibe from this person. Let's stay in contact with this person or whatever. And we've received gems from a lot of different outlets that has made themselves known to us during our journey.
Okay, last 3 questions.
Yes.
Last 3, because I could
go
on forever. I know, and we're going straight through nap time, and it's not easy.
Okay.
I know you have a constantly changing schedule, but can you give us an idea of what's a day in the life like?
Day in the life.
Besides the nap time and workout.
After the nap time and workout, usually entails me being on social media for about 1.5 to 2 hours, answering emails, not just Instagram, but answering emails, doing all sorts of stuff. Usually I have a class that day, so I'll probably go grab something to eat or cook or something, make up the routine, create the routine, answer more emails, have a business meeting. After the business meeting, go to the class, teach the class. After the class is done, go home, call one of my videographers, John. Call him, hey, come over to the house. We need to just shoot some content. He's like, okay. He comes over, we shoot, because I've learned throughout the past that I've become sort of like a personality on social media. So now I just shoot content.
Oh, that's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw like the one with you and Ashley
Just
about the wedding.
Me and my wife, we just kicking in and everything. And I love vlogging.
Yeah.
So going back to my day, I've taught the class, I've went home, I've ate dinner, I've called John, we shot a video, and he goes home. I wake up the next morning and practically do the same thing. And if it's any different, I'm probably getting on a plane to travel across the country or internationally.
That's so dope.
Yeah. Get off the plane, teach the class, go to the hotel, eat my oodles and noodles, get back on the plane, get back to LA, and do the same thing. Hey, John, where you at? Oh, I'm over here. Boom. All right, I got a class to teach. You gonna be at Playground tonight? All right, cool. Let's film it. Boom. Get home. Boom. Next day, Millennium. Hey, Typo, where you at? All right, no. After that, boom. It's non-stop.
And are you having to invest out of pocket for the videographers, or is it an exchange because you have so many viewers, or is that too much of a personal question?
That is the reason why I'm standing here today. That is the very reason why I am standing here today, is because I will give my last dollar into what I'm doing. If it costs me any amounts of money, I believe in the value of the product, not the dollar, you know. And I feel like this world that we live in, the value does come from the product, because if you have people who do have the dollar, they may want to invest in your product, which is more valuable than the dollars that you have in your pocket. So if I can dish all of that into my product, then I may come across someone, and if it's portrayed the correct way, then people in higher standings and with much better financial situations may be able to invest in my product.
So usually you pay for things instead of trying to do trade.
Absolutely. No, I pay for things. We actually shot a video not too long ago that I have to post, and I believe in paying. Or if I can't pay, I believe in exchanging something for your time. I don't think it's fair for someone to lend their time to anyone, I don't care how big of a standard that you have, for nothing.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that leads into resentment in the future, you know? And we don't want to feel that way, and we don't want to admit that. But ultimately there's going to be that waiting factor, you know. And I think it's just a human quality that everyone has. You know, you do things, there's always a reason for why you're doing something. I don't care if there's a bum on the street. I shouldn't say bum. I don't care if there's a homeless person on the street, and you gave that person $100 because they were unfortunate, right? Obviously that person isn't going to give you money back, but that, with you blessing with that person with that $100, gave you some type of good energy for you to feel valuable in the world. That's the exchange that you may have, you know. And I think that's important. I think life is not about trade, but I think when it comes to business and building your brand, everything is about trade, you know. And I think it's important to keep that an element, like, because you can take advantage of some people when people are doing things for free constantly, and I wouldn't want that, how do you say, pressure? I wouldn't want that pressure over my head to feel like I have to pay them back. So immediately, once you do a job for me, once you're here and once we're exchanging, I'm going to give you something. That's how I think it should be. Always.
I hear that as such an abundance mindset. I really like it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, last question.
Okay.
Which will be extended into two. What I'm so curious, what do you see like your next 10 years are like? What are you building? What?
The next 10 years.
10 years from now or bigger. I feel like you're really leading up to something way bigger. Not putting this down. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is, but I really feel it for you, and I don't know.
My energy, the gears are shifting towards the Parent Jam.
Mm-hmm.
The Parent Jam is something. It's like my baby, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've developed this concept, and now like disclaimer, I didn't create, students or kids dancing with their parents. Never. I didn't create that. I did create the concept of the video camera being in front of the class, the student and the parent learning the choreography at the same time, and it being broadcasted on the same scale as professional dancers film themselves in classes as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I take credit for. And for me, I feel like the Parent Jam is way bigger than what it is now. Like I said, I'm selling. We're in the process of selling it as a curriculum to different studios domestically and internationally. Once again, there's another thing that's happening with it that's going to blow. And I think I am all in on the Parent Jam, just because of how much joy it brings to the world and the responses that we've received in the past with the classes that we've had. So, I think the Parent Jam is, and I want to do it all.
Yeah.
We all want to do it all. But yeah, the Parent Jam is where I'm going.
It's 150 years from now. We're chilling on a cloud, looking down at Earth. What do you want to be remembered for?
I want to be remembered for my work ethic. I want to be remembered for how much joy I can bring into the room when I walked in it. I want to be remembered for uplifting. I want to be remembered for enlightening the dark. I want to be remembered for the smiles that I put on. So all of that, saying all of that ultimately goes back to one thing, is just inspiration. And if I can be remembered for, he was the most inspirational person that I've ever come in contact with, I'm good with that. I'm good with just that tag, and if my earthly time was spent well, I would want people to say, he made my day brighter. He made me feel a certain type of way to want to do better. And I feel like that's the ultimate goal for me. I don't want anything else.
So beautiful. How can people follow, support?
Yes, all of that
Anything
good stuff.
Coming up?
You could definitely go follow the Parent Jam page on Instagram. Make sure you can also follow me on Instagram, which is Phil_Wright_. You can subscribe on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/PhilWright. Twitter, PhilWright7. There's so many handles, And what's crazy? I told my students, I was like, change your name, your tags to your name. Like, now people are referencing people on the street that they see by the social media platforms that they have. So it's crazy. Like, man, do I know her name? Gosh, is that Shifty Booty 86? That's Shifty Booty. Hey, Shifty Booty.
I think I'm having a flashback all of a sudden. Did you have your social media on the carnival background? Yo,
I sure did.
remember you put your social media
I put my social media
You put like
right
a
up
business card
Yeah.
on the.
Yeah.
That was.
Phil_Wright_.
I was like, he's shameless.
Yeah. No shame at all. And you know, I say that to say this is because now the world is evolving and we spend more time on media.
It's brilliant.
Yeah, it's so just change your tags or whatever as close to your name as possible, because that's what these business executives are going to refer to you as. Imagine them in a room thinking about hiring you. Hey, have you seen that Shifty Booty 86?
We have to find if this is real.
That video's fire.
Oh my God.
So, but yeah, definitely like social media. You can follow me on all of those platforms. I'm always consistently putting up material, whether if it's dance, motivational speaking, the Parent Jam content. Everything you can follow on those social media platforms to catch all of that material. And subscribe, comment, reshare, do all that good stuff. And it's crazy. Also, another thing, I'm going on a tangent,
no,
whatever.
Cool with that a little bit.
Social media has its way on bombarding your home. And it's in everyone's home. So I feel like we need to make sure that we are receiving and feeding ourselves the right things that we feel comfortable with, and the reason why I'm saying this is that you are in full control, and it's important for us to take that and understand that we just as in food, we need a diet in social media and what we receive. Yeah, what we receive. I follow the Shade Room, right? Because it's like my Channel 7 News. It's like whatever. But I only follow that one media page. You ever had cable? When cable first came out, you had all these news channels. Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 10, Channel 2, whatever.
5, 7, 11.
It's just like, bro, I just need one. Okay? And what I did is just reformatted my entire social media pages to where I only get one piece of content. So if I am following CNN, that's my CNN. That's it. That's my news. I can't keep scrolling down and I'm seeing just bad news all the time and whatever, this and that. We're not perfect. We're not focused on one thing at all times. It's just a good way to navigate your diet, and what I say is just go home and shake the tree and, maybe have to relieve some of those channels that you're following because that may be detrimental to your day and your living too. So.
I love that. I'm glad that you went there. Thank you.
That's it.
I want to acknowledge you for so much, for bringing joy into the world and into the rooms, because when you were saying that, I remember when I took your class the other day. It's the first time I'm taking your class, and I just felt so happy you were so with it.
Yeah.
And you had gotten your teeth removed.
Oh my God.
I was like, oh, he must be in pain. And then, today just being so warm, so open, so down, so approachable. I really appreciate it, and I want to acknowledge you for all the work that you put in, all the work that people might never see or understand or know in the toughest of moments to pursue, that you keep on pushing because you're so dedicated to your purpose, for creating more love in the world. I know we didn't get into it, but congratulations on your marriage, on your recent marriage. I love yay. Yeah, and for everything, you took a big chunk of day today, and you were so down, and whatever time you need, and you brought your super talented crew to film and light it and all this stuff. So thank you.
No, and I just want to say thank you for inviting me. I know we've been crossing for a very long time, ever since with Debbie's and stuff like that. And I think I crossed you and I was like, oh, you have that podcast and whatnot. And then you told me about it briefly, and we were literally, you were going to class, I was coming from class. And I just want to say congratulations on a successful business. You've been doing such a great job. I admire you from afar. You're doing such a, and thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. Had a great time.
Yay! Oh, thank you. That's so sweet.
You're very, very
Oh my
welcome.
God.